This is like the 4th video I've posted about watching Ghostbusters.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but we had to get your opinion on the channel though. That was important.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm really grateful for this trip, so we could.
Shut up! You don't think Ryan is famous?
Cousin Ryan.
You gotta.
Hey guys, it's Ryder.
Hey, it's Cousin Ryan.
And we just got out of Ghostbusters Afterlife for my first time.
And my 4th. So I'm gonna let you talk first.
Because this is my first time seeing that.
Is this? No. Is this?
Yes.
Yes. Can I just park right there?
Yeah. I thought it was phenomenal.
Can I just park right here?
Yeah.
Here or here?
Here.
Sorry, we're figuring stuff out.
I thought it was phenomenal.
And what about it did you think was phenomenal?
I like the story and I love the characters.
Okay. By the way, spoiler alert. We are not going to hold back spoilers here.
We've been waiting for this movie for longer than I've been alive.
True story. Okay, so what'd you like about it?
I'm gonna start with the story.
Okay.
That's like the main thing. I liked how it wasn't. I feel like they could have done it like really badly, with it being like about Egon going crazy and you know, like his family picking up the remains, and they could have really like dumbed it down with like the kid main characters, which was like my biggest fear with it.
Okay, I see what you're
Make
saying.
it not as serious and like no risks or whatever.
Right. I see what you're saying.
But like one of the main like driving points that made me think like, oh, this is not like it directly meant for a younger audience. Like it's not like dumbed down for kids.
Right.
Is when Phoebe is confronting Gozer. Just Gozer's in it.
Spoiler alert.
You already got a spoiler alert.
That's right.
And she's just telling like her terrible jokes, and Gozer just looks at her straight in the eyes and goes, "Have you come here to sacrifice yourself?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, stakes are quite high.
Yeah. That's a really good point you just brought up about her telling the jokes to Gozer. That was a pretty bold strategy for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem out of character either.
Yeah.
You know?
And like what also made it even better was her response was, "No, I'm 12.
Yeah. Are you ready to die?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the strategies they used were like actually like really smart. Like having the little RC trap go under one of the dogs.
Yeah.
And using Phoebe's jokes as a distraction. Like that was like you can tell like you can tell that each of the grandkids have some sort of aspect of Egon.
Sure.
Phoebe has the intellect and the science mind, and Trevor has the more like handiwork.
And I just want to throw this in there, even though he's not related to any of them. Podcast is a great character.
Podcast was a good character.
Yeah.
At first, I was kind of iffy about him.
Yeah, because a kid like
later
that,
on, he got like actually like pretty cool.
Yeah, and a kid like that can be annoying real easy, but he wasn't though. He maintained.
He maintained composure and kept his
Yeah.
character. Because they could have made him like a big old wuss, which they kind of did at the start, but then you kind of see him like get a little bit more courageous throughout it.
He's a clever kid. Let's see, what else did you think about the special effects?
Special effects I thought were on point.
Yeah?
They didn't like... I would say they were pretty on par, like, for quality-wise as, like, the original Ghostbusters.
Gotcha.
Because in the original ones, I mean, nowadays you can obviously tell it's, like, CGI and stuff. And you can still tell it's CGI. But it looks, like, realistic enough where it would happen.
They didn't use all CGI, though.
Oh, well, yeah,
There was a lot of practical special effects.
Oh, yeah. But also, there was, you know, CGI and stuff.
What'd you think when Egon's ghost showed up?
I did not expect that. I honestly, they could have like really messed it up by making him talk, and I'm really glad they didn't.
Really? Okay, that's interesting to hear that.
Because knowing Egon's character, I don't think he really would have had anything to say either.
Right.
Like for how smart he is, for being not only proud of his grandkids but also his daughter for doing this, and then that moment where he hugs his daughter and fades away and stuff like.
Did you notice when he faded away? When the star went up into the sky, it was the ghost from the logo. Yeah. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's kind of faint at first.
Yeah. So I went to Target yesterday, and I made Ryder sit in the car before we went to the movie because I didn't want him to see this spoiler right here.
This is an action figure of his ghost.
It's a 2-pack.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. We still haven't found it yet. Hopefully we'll be able to get it at some point, but I didn't want to risk finding it and then having spoiling, but I also
because that was like a pretty awesome part of the movie. I would say.
yeah, that's
Especially when all the guys came in.
yeah,
And they're all old.
Yeah, but when we saw it for the first time and the music starts to get quiet and the camera's panning around it, I know I've repeated that so many times, but it just, man, it really gets you, you know.
And as soon as I saw like the ghost hand go on to Phoebe, I'm like, that's
That's
Egon.
it.
That's
Yep,
Egon.
I know, man.
Because they allude to him with like the light and stuff, before.
Well, because he's in it throughout the movie.
Yeah,
but you don't see him till the end. I mean,
and that's a really
great...
smart way, because they could have done something stupid where they like CGI'd him in, and you know, done all that.
Yeah.
And even like in the beginning when it shows him like running from the mines and stuff.
Yeah.
I liked how they didn't exactly like show him, because they probably got some like actor to do it.
Yeah, I read who it is and I forget. I did see a picture online though that Ivan Reitman, the original director, father of Jason Reitman, he stood in as Egon for those shots.
Oh,
And then they replaced him, but he suited up in the Spangler.
Yeah, and they probably just used a little bit of the special effects to like make his face look more like Egon.
Well, I think they completely removed him. I think he was just a stand-in to like position those shots correctly,
like when he's running and stuff. You don't get
no. I mean at the very end when the ghost shows up.
Oh,
they used him as a stand-in.
That's
parts.
Cool.
And I liked how the three guys were standing there firing at Gozer, and Egon's ghost walks Phoebe around so they can stand next to them,
and
all four together. Yeah. Well, no, they didn't cross him the second time.
Did they not?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, I guess they wouldn't really have needed to, because they didn't need to like push it back.
You know what? And watching that this time, I noticed it before, but it kind of bugged me, and we'll get in. I'm curious what didn't work in the movie for you. They just like Venkman's like light them up, and they start firing on Gozer, and then they don't even say, "Hey, should we cross?" No strategy or anything. They just immediately start crossing the streams.
Well, it's probably because they used that tactic before, and they thought it would work again.
Okay, yeah. Use that tactic maybe for a story that we never saw. Because when they used it in the original movie, it was to reverse the particle flow through the dimensional gate. It wasn't to like actually defeat Gozer. It was to suck everything back into it. So
yeah.
What didn't work for you?
I don't know.
Oh.
I can't really like think of anything that didn't work.
You did say some of the plot beats were similar to the first movie.
I think it does kind of bug me that they kind of like redid the first movie in some aspects with like Gozer coming back and all that, but it worked for like this new generation because they never defeated Gozer. They just sent him back. So he was destined. Back.
Set them back.
And so they were destined to come back eventually.
Yeah. And the whole there is no mom, only Zool this time around. Like I thought it worked though. The whole thing, there were definite parallels, but reused things from the first movie, but the story overall with the grandkids discovering who their grandfather was, and I still, man, that conversation that they have when Phoebe's upset that like, why didn't you tell me who my grandfather was?
Yeah.
And
that kind of like hit hard.
It did a little bit. And when she says, my grandfather wasn't nuts, and the mom's like, well, then he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh man, because that's like that could be a family dynamic, if
and it's not
because you could explain his bad behavior on, well, he's crazy, but if he's not crazy, then his bad behavior makes him a butthole. Like,
And it's like it's not like he just kind of like went crazy is the thing as well.
No, everybody thought he went crazy.
Everyone thought he would. Then they called him the dirt farmer and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the people in the town, dismissed it as. What was your first impression when Phoebe calls Ray and says, "I'm calling about Egon Spangler," and Ray says, "Egon Spangler can rot in hell"?
I thought like something like horrible happened between them. Like I didn't think like Egon just like upped and left.
Right.
I thought they went into like some huge argument, and that's why they disbanded.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking at first.
But it sounds like they were kind of falling apart anyway.
Yeah.
When the ghost sighting slowed down, and I thought that was interesting. So that, and I don't think I mentioned this in any of our other reviews, but that plot point of doing too good of a job and going out of business, there was an episode of the real Ghostbusters that addressed that.
Oh, really?
Where they busted all the ghosts, and they ended up, which is, this part of it's corny for the cartoon, but they became the People Busters, and they went out fighting crime instead of ghosts.
Was that like
so they
later in the show?
What's that?
Was that like later, like near the end?
It was, no, I'd say it was in the middle of the run, maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember. Because I've started cherry picking my favorite episodes and rewatch those instead of going through the whole series from start to finish. But I thought that was kind of a neat nod to that. And then I just love when Rey says he was getting spooky and he freaked me out. Like that, I just want to know more about that. I'd love to hear exactly what was going on, because it had to be bad for Rey to not want to follow him.
Yeah.
Even when he called 10 years later, he says, well, he called me 10 years later talking about the dark storm that's going to consume humanity. And
and yet they believe like similar stuff in the earlier movies.
Yeah.
And like knowing what they faced and stuff,
Right.
like literally fought gods.
I am disappointed that there wasn't more story to Rey having Revelation 6:12 tattooed on his forearm.
Yeah.
Because I had told Ryder at one point, I'm like, if this is a big plot point in the movie, I might actually get the same tattoo on my forearm, just because I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, when he answers the phone, that's the only time you see that. So it's not...
I think it's just supposed to be like a cool nod to the first movie.
Sure. Well, and also a connection to the spray paintings that Egon had.
Yeah.
You know, when they drive into the farm.
Yeah. When it says Revelation 6:12.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did... How was the popcorn at AMC?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I wasn't thrilled with the butter topping, to be honest with you. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best I've ever had. We saw it in IMAX. The sound was incredible.
Oh, it gets loud.
John and I saw it in IMAX in Emeryville the opening night, and it wasn't that off the hook. Like,
yeah.
And this one was more of a true, like, curved IMAX screen too.
Oh,
whereas the one in Emeryville is just like a big giant screen. It
was it
like,
AMC?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. There was another question I wanted to ask you about. Who do you think was driving the Ecto-1 when it came back into the firehouse?
Do you know the answer to this?
I don't.
Oh.
No, this is pure speculation. Think about that for a second, and let's also, just before that, I loved, and we didn't talk about this last night. I loved how they saved. At first, I thought I was disappointed we didn't get the theme song right away when Egon was like stepping on the trap pedal at the farm. Like I thought we'd get a little more like a build up to
yeah.
But after seeing the movie as a whole, I'm glad they saved it to the end, because it was like the Ecto-1 is returning to New York. It's going across the bridge, and it's like the adventure's beginning anew.
Yeah,
and that's
there's
why
gonna be a new
the
generation.
Ghostbusters are back, whereas they weren't back yet at the start of the movie, so there was no point in using the song. Also, regarding the Ecto-1, this is the first time I noticed this. The red light that spins on the roof didn't work throughout the movie.
Oh, really?
I'm kind of surprised that, like, I mean,
it was beat up and
granted,
old.
Exactly.
And
but
Trevor
it's
only
still,
got the engine. Well, Trevor and Egon got the engine to work.
Yeah.
Because there's that little scene where he's
that
trying
little
to start
wire.
it.
Yeah.
Goes back in.
Yeah. Okay, so who do you think was driving the Ecto-1?
I don't know.
Let me ask you another question that may lead to the answer to that.
Oh, yeah?
Winston, when he's sitting there talking to Janine in the post-credit scene,
Yeah.
when he says, I started this company with one employee,
Oh, yeah.
who do you think that one employee was?
Peter?
I think you got to go deeper than that. Because remember, Peter went back to went back to school to teach.
I'm blanking on his name.
Are you thinking Rick Moranis?
Yes, Rick Moranis.
So pause that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe two things. It could have been Janine. You know how when we were talking, you know, I started this company with one employee. He's talking kind of sentimentally. It could have been her, you know, just saying.
Because she also did talk about holding on, or like paying for Egon's debts
Right.
and
So
stuff.
she had some financial connections. She was helping out with Winston. So I think that could be what Winston's saying. Because I'm sure Winston was the one footing the bills for a lot of everything that was falling apart.
Yeah.
Within, you know. And I also like, we'll get back to who was driving that Ecto-1 in. I like Winston's connection to the car and saying, you know, what happened to you and I'm going to fix you up. Because the car was so important to him in the cartoon.
Yeah.
That was his baby. So I'm glad they brought that storyline in as well. So when they pulled the car in, and I know when you watch it the first time, it's hard to really zoom in and pick out certain things. But I think it was somebody with kind of a round head and short hair.
It almost looked like that hat on as well.
Oh, did you think? I didn't pick up on that. Maybe the hat was like holding the... Oh, interesting. Because... And I think they deliberately were ambiguous about it just so they could in a future movie they could write in, if they need to write somebody in, if Rick Moranis decides to come back as Louis Tully.
If he does.
Different,
Louis
you know.
Tully, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It clearly wasn't Trevor with his big hair. It didn't look to be as big a person as Dan Aykroyd.
No.
So, and maybe it's just nobody. Maybe
it was just some guy.
But
he
dude,
hired.
somebody drove the car back to New York. Somebody drove it back to New York.
Somebody had.
You know, when it was going across the bridge. So, I picture too. Maybe the kids moving to New York and going to school and
training to
taking
be
over,
Ghostbusters or something.
And we got to see Paul Rudd suit up, man. And I wouldn't mind seeing the mom, Carrie Coon is the actress name, Callie. She played Callie. I wouldn't mind seeing her suit up too. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Or at least be some part in the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, yeah. I think they have a really good cast that should be brought back.
That's another thing. I loved Paul Rudd in that movie. I thought he did an excellent job.
It was like he showed up just long enough to be Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
you know,
Paul Rudd, but in a Ghostbuster movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I, you know, there's actors, and no disrespect to Will Ferrell, but he plays the same sort of character in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I get tired of it.
But there's some, like,
But Paul Rudd I don't get tired of. It's just
Bill
like
Murray as well.
Yeah.
He plays, like, the exact same character in almost every movie, but it just works.
Yeah. And I like his little line, I'm Peter Venkman from the Home Office, you know, when he introduces himself to her. And who's this? And she said, oh, I'm Callie Spangler. That was the first time in the movie she said her last name, too.
And what he said, good luck with that name?
Yeah. He's all, what a weird name. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what he said to Spangler at first, like when they first meet?
I don't know. Maybe in the comics or something. Not in the movie, though, because they already knew each other when the first movie started.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I ain't got nothing else.
Got nothing else?
No.
We'll then sign us off.
All right. We'll catch you in the next one.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is like the 4th video I've posted about watching Ghostbusters.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but we had to get your opinion on the channel though. That was important.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm really, really grateful for this trip, so we could.
Hello.
Riley. So we could do this review together and see the movie together. It was really important. Sorry, we just had a little interruption. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, so until next time, be excellent to each other.
See ya.
Oh, you gotta tell me where I'm going to.
Right.
Left.
Oh.
You know, say it's cousin Ryan on the Hollywood Boulevard. You know, say he bigger than any superstar. All of us spit you some real dope bar. Some of them sweeter than any chocolate bar. Boom! Hey.